Anyway. Want me to be more important than I really am, I'll take it.
Since we listed this as a board meeting, in case we needed to make any decisions today, I'll call the meeting to order. All of the board members are present either in the room or on the phone. We did publish the notice of the meeting within the statutory requirement of 48 hours. The first item agenda was to approve minutes from our September 16th board meeting, but I'm going to postpone that because we have limited time this morning. TJ is on a tight schedule with inspecting seawalls and buildings. One thing TJ shared with us is that there are several seawalls that were destroyed and crashed in right in this area. So we really need to count ourselves lucky with this one. So I'll go ahead and turn the meeting over to TJ.
I'll take it.
But I'll introduce folks first.
Sure.
So TJ is with United Engineering Consultants. He's our lead engineer, our only engineer on the project. And TJ's been working with us for about 4 years on this.
Yeah.
And then Doug, I don't know your last name.
Doug Tracy with Custom Storm Shutters, Service Manager.
Thank you.
And I think Steve's on the phone.
And Steve Lopresti on the
I
Zoom
am
call,
here
under the-
as well. Thank you.
Thanks for dialing in.
I'm Sean Sharp with Complete Property Services.
Brett with Garb, I'll be doing the dirt and the coating and tile removal
Nice to meet you.
as well.
Ryan, did we have anybody from the artificial turf?
We do, Sam from Artificial.
And
Yeah,
She's unmuted, so she should be able to.
okay.
Ryan, I do have couple people trying to call, maybe try and come in. Leo.
Leo's on, I've co-hosted him, so he can,
Mike will probably be on.
Mike Kruger, he's there, he can
Yep.
unmute himself, I made him a co-host.
And then Jim Stone, Jim Bonhoff, has he got one? Yes. Okay,
He's there,
I'm here.
so,
Good.
I,
there we are.
I've made him co-host.
The only one who might not make it is Terry, obviously, with the windows. But if there are any questions, we can revert those. We'll get answers quickly.
Okay.
okay,
He had something to do with his parents.
great.
Well, I put out an agenda, so I'm just going to kind of run through the agenda, kind of just quick as possible. That way we have more time to answer questions, talk about questions. I know there's some things that you guys want to address. I know our contract has been signed. Both permits, have they both been approved now?
Both have been approved. I got to pick the second one up.
Okay. So when you get a second, just scan those and send them over to us for our records. Notice of commencement, I'm sure has been filed.
Has been filed.
Okay. Some of the submittal requirements that we will get from CPS are their certificates of insurance, a project schedule of values, which is nothing more than just the pay application, just a blank copy, just to verify that everything lines up with the bid scope. Intents to warrant from contractor plus all the product manufacturers, and letters of intent as well. And then we have our construction submittals. So anything they're going to be using for materials, concrete repair, stucco, sealants, the profiling mortar, the deck coating, I know we're doing the hot applied for the waterproofing out in the grassy knoll. So we'll have all of that paint. They'll submit all of those to us. We'll review them. And once we approve them, well, you'll get a letter of transmittal with what we approve and what we don't approve. And then what also should be part of that would be the window and door Florida product approvals. So we'll have those inside the Florida product approval has the attachments. So we'll know how. So once we get a copy of that, again, we'll review them and then send out a letter of transmittal with what's approved, what's not
That
approved.
has to happen before. we start.
At least like to have the front end stuff. The materials, typically we would like to have them at least 2 weeks before they use them. We like to have everything up front just so we have time to be able to go through everything. But I know it's going to be probably hectic these next, if we're well, I guess is the start date still on schedule for what you were thinking?
Did I hear 17th was the start date, but I did hear a little bit of a maybe change, or we good with that?
We're good with that.
Okay, so we're good.
Can we accelerate
Come tomorrow.
Might be a cost associated with that, but yes.
But yeah, we'd like to have everything up front. I just want to make sure that we'd like to have all the products up front. That way we know what we're using. And in throughout the projects, things will change. I mean, especially with everything that's been going on with raw materials, they might they've submitted something that's approved and they go to order it and they go, we're not getting that, you need to change to something else. And we'll deal with that as the time comes. For project administration, I know really our main point of contact's been Doris. Is it gonna stay with you? Okay. For correspondence, we can include whoever you guys would like on it. Who would you like? I know some condos, we send everything to, say, Ryan, he distributes out to the board if everybody else is necessary, or would you like us to copy the board on all correspondence?
Probably the board, and Ryan.
Yeah.
Because if Ryan is out at any, for a day or more, then we're at least still getting it and it's not waiting, to be forwarded from him.
Okay, can you do me a favor, Ryan, and just send us, Christina, an email, just that has all the board members on it, that way we have it, and nobody's left off of it.
Can I back? I'm sorry. I need to back up. Yes, the schedule, I promised the schedule. By now, my apologies. We had a little tiny storm come through. I was gonna do it last week, but I will have it done this week. I'll get
Okay.
something, a rough draft anyway.
Just a comment too, I think we need to realize as we go through this, Ryan's got his normal job to do. And to any extent that things need to be done quickly, and I think the board would be.
That's fine, and we can copy the
Yeah.
board and have Ryan on it, so at least he's aware, and then whoever needs to make decisions will have the ability to do so.
Right.
From this, I mean, up until this point, I've had these two
Right,
with all my correspondence and Ryan copied. If Ryan has something, he gets with me, so I think it's working well.
okay, great, just want to make.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then from your side, Sean, who do you want copied on emails?
Be myself, Mike, and Leo.
Need Sherry on it at all or not?
Sherry's no longer with us.
Okay, never mind. Answers that question.
Actually, I will give you my, the new girl that's doing this. Her name is Megan.
Megan,
Let me, real quick.
just send that to Christina, just put for your
Her name is
correspondence.
Megan Niles.
Okay.
And I'll send Christina the,
Okay. I'll be our project manager, so, I mean, I think most of y'all have my number, so can give me a call.
Speed dial.
Who is going to be your project foreman?
Albero Gonzalez.
I'm sorry, what was the name?
Gonzalez.
Albero Gonzalez. And then we will have, kind of an assistant foreman on the job. His name's Ari Berto,
Want to spell that?
H-E-R-I Berto.
What was his last name?
Perez.
Perez. Yeah. Okay, so requests for information, typically everything will go through me, and then I'll distribute out to whoever needs to go to. Day-to-day activities can go straight to the foreman between you, Ryan, that, hey, this is where we're working. I've worked with Alberto before, so he's good with communication, so he's gonna be talking with Ryan constantly or Doris constantly, whoever that's gonna be. And just kind of saying, this is where we're going this week, this is where we're going next week, this is what we just got finished. That way we're all kind of on the same page as we move forward with the work. Alberto, he'll schedule all inspections that he'll need with us. If anything's needed with the city, he'll contact them and have them scheduled for their inspections as well. Typically what we like to do are monthly progress meetings where we'll sit down, we'll talk about the schedule, budget issues, if there are any issues, action items, just things that we need answers for. So ideally, knowing we're going to start on October 17th, probably would like to have that first meeting. Let's see here. Probably around, November 14th or so, probably do 3 weeks. That way it's probably right before the Thanksgiving holiday. Is there, ideally, we try to keep meetings around the same day of the week, just kind of makes it easy and consistent for everybody. Is there a certain day of the week that works better for you guys?
Tony Wilson, would you chime in? He's somebody that still works. Tony, you might be muted.
There we go. I'm unmuted.
There
Can you hear
are.
me?
Yes,
I mean, any day but Monday is good for me.
okay.
May I suggest Friday, because we're all that week, and assuming there's no work on Saturday, Sunday. It just seems to make sense that that would be a good wrap up for the week and prepare for the
Doesn't matter
Does
to
that
me,
work?
that's fine. So we'll look at November 18th,
Okay,
time. You okay with 9 o'clock? Does that work or?
yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. And we'll kind of, I know there's a lot of different parties involved and we'll kind of keep the ones, I know Doug doesn't need to come to every progress meeting. So just kind of same with Brett, that we're not wasting everybody's time. Typically, it's usually owners, contractor, myself.
Yeah.
And then if we need somebody else there, we'll schedule that as we need to.
Right.
But that way we're not taking up anybody else's time that doesn't need it. In here before I forget.
I think we're gonna want to meet with Sean more often.
You'll see me weekly.
Yeah.
You'll see me several times a week.
And I'll be here probably weekly as well. And I typically try to stop in and talk to somebody. Just kind of let them know what I was here and looking at. It doesn't happen every single time, but most of the times I'll try to at least say hi and I'm here. So, and those are just kind of as a, lack of a better term, a fail safe. So we don't let things progress too far without all sitting down collectively. Just kind of gets us in the swing of things moving forward. But yeah, communication is continuing even outside of those timeframes.
Question, TJ.
Sure.
Are we gonna put together a log as we do building 8, because things that we find and things that kind of are difficult prior to going to building 9, so we have a really back view what could be done better, what surprised us, what that type of
We can. Yeah, we can do that.
That'd be helpful, yeah, because I mean, it's gonna be a learning experience on 8, right? I just like to take what we learned and when we go to 9.
Yeah, see if we can expedite it anyway or anything like
Yeah, I
that.
think like a postmortem on our 8 before we.
And we can do that as this building's starting to wrap up, have another meeting. It just
Yeah.
kind of says that we can look at the schedule and
Right.
how long it took and say,
What
yeah, we
worked
kind of met
well,
our
what
schedule. Is there anything that we can do to make this more efficient or anything like that?
I won't guarantee that the buildings were built the same.
Even that's a very rough assumption. Every day that I'm on site, I'm gonna do a report that gets distributed to contractor owners in the building department, so they're always aware of what's going on. And then you guys can distribute out however you guys would like to, if you're going to. Every time that CPS provides a pay application, they'll send it to me. I'll review it, make sure everything is adequate, and then I'll approve it and then send it to you guys for payment. If you guys have any other questions that I can answer, great. If not, we can get to CPS, but I should be able to answer most everything. With those, after the first draw, we're gonna get lien releases for anybody who files a notice to owner, which is part of the notice of commencement. Lets them know that work's being done. That mostly you'll probably see it from the vendor. I don't know if any of your vendors will, but suppliers, typically you'll see it from Sherwin-Williams, you'll see them from Coastal. And it just pretty much says, if I'm not paid, I have the right to put a lien on your building. We make sure that we get progress lien releases every pay application to know that they've been paid up to date. That way, when we get to the end of this, we don't have a subcontractor or a vendor that says, hey, I haven't been paid. And now I'm gonna put a lien on your building. We'd be at least aware of it and say, well, no, we're not gonna approve this pay application. We don't have a lien release yet. So each of those will all starting with the second pay application. I'm gonna kind of skip over the project schedule section and we'll come back to that. Common areas, like always, are always off limits to the workers. What we'll kind of discuss more is staging and site usage. Where are we gonna be? Contractors responsible for keeping the job site clean, so there's not gonna be stuff floating around everywhere. Their staging area is nice, it's kept, stuff's not floating out in the parking lot in areas that it shouldn't be. Owner's responsibility is just to remove everything from the work area. So everything on the balconies, anything on the walkways, if people have potted plants in the planters that they want to keep for some reason, take those out, mats, all of that'll have to come off when we're working in those areas. It's just because, say, we're starting on Tower 8 doesn't mean everything has to come off of this building all at once. We'll know what balconies they have staged and what needs to be moved when. Same with the walkways. provide electrical, water power. So you'll get probably with the foreman, find out where they have the hookups are for the stages, or have their electrician come out, be able to put their pigtails on so they can set up the swing stages. And then just to keep the owners noticed for what's going on, where they're working, that type of stuff. So I've got miscellaneous items, but kind of what let's do is jump back up to the schedule. Typical work hours.
Our typical ones here are 8:30 to 4:30 because of noise, but I think I think that's a little too limiting
Mhm.
for this big project. So what would you suggest, Sean?
Normally, it's 8 to 6 hour range. If things are moving well, we stick to an 8 hour day. However, we will have subs here that may need to push a little bit further in the evening. So I think that gives us, an ample time to start with. If things get to the point where we need to readjust or, rethink that process, then we can do that at that time.
So 8 to 6, Monday to Friday.
Yeah, and also on weather days, say we have, rain during the week, we like to use a Saturday, not typically a Sunday, but if it's bad, like something like last week, we might, just to keep the progress going.
Right.
If that's allowable by you guys.
Did you say a Saturday and Sunday for weather or?
Mostly it's Saturday, but sometimes
It might.
if the Sunday is available, and it's something we can discuss as we get up to
Right.
that point, we have like 3 or 4 days of rain. Can I go ahead? and
Since we're coming up on the holidays, what days won't you are out of your schedule? Like, obviously Thanksgiving, what about the day after?
Depending on where we're at on schedule. Typically, it's a 4-day weekend. The guys may work if we need to get something done. If it's okay with you guys, again, it's something we like to do, give them that opportunity. In the past, it's been where we've had to maybe do lighter noise things, maybe sealants or paint or coatings or something like that. Not so much concrete work, but it's something that we can discuss as we go through. We get a rain day out. Hey, Doris, we've got a rain
Yeah.
day here. You'll get a notice that we had a rain delay,
Mhm.
and then we can discuss from there.
Okay. Sue Gendron had to step out of the room for personal matters, so there's 4 board members present. That is a quorum. I would like to make a motion that we allow restoration work to commence or to be within the hours generally of 8 to 6, Monday through Friday, every weekday. And the weekends would be pending
I
weather
think, yeah, as
issues.
needed, but with approval prior to any weekend work.
Mike just had a suggestion as well. Would it be possible to have everybody get here at like 7:30 and start noise at 8 o'clock?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yes.
typically what we have allowed,
Perfect.
that, just the noise is the
Perfect.
issue. Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second it, sorry.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Tony?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
So as far as the project schedule, sequence of work, you kind of want to run us through that, Sean, roughly, just kind of have an idea of where you'd like to start and how many men and stages, what you think is going to happen.
Due to windows, I believe we start here on the front side. And it's probably going to be the most invasive and the trickiest of them all, basically, just because of that's entrance for homeowners. So that will get it out of the way. And from there, we'll wrap around to this side. I don't, like I said, I was starting on a schedule. I do not have one, but I will have something rough this week. Ending on this side over here. And then we can start on that north side of that building. Once we have these 2 sides done, we can start work progress in the grassy knoll as we get that side finished and wrap around. Doris and I have had conversations with that. I think we're on the same page.
Okay.
Yeah, so Tower 8, the west side would be your starting point,
Yes, ma'am.
and it'll be the top floor, 7th
Yes,
floor. On the west side, you're gonna move floor by floor, or will you also be doing like concrete work within the stack?
We like to work in a flow. So we'll probably have multiple floors. We'll start with 7, and then as we progress, we'll move down and it'll overlap.
Okay,
So we may be starting, 4th floor with something and finishing 7th floor for the finish, however it pans out. But
Okay.
that's how we like to roll.
And will, Sean, will then the window work start then after the concrete and on that stack, or is it gonna be wait till we get all the concrete work done, then we'll come back and do all the window work?
Once we have the windows in hand, which I believe they're gonna have them on site here, we're gonna store them in trailers on site here. We will be able to install the window as we work the stack.
Oh, okay, great.
The reasoning why I'm starting over on this side is because they're easily accessible for the windows that you do have, or that we will be replacing over here. And it gives me some time to get that window order through.
And then the coordination with people that are shutters, right?
Mhm.
That may potentially come off or new ones being put on.
Sure.
Would that be the same approach that as you finish the concrete work coming down, if it's available, you're just gonna get it done then?
I would say absolutely.
Okay,
I would like to finish the stack and move on because, I mean, on, other than this, we're gonna be on stages.
Yeah.
So having to come back and throw a stage is just costly,
Okay.
and yeah, we want to finish the stack as we go.
so it's kind of a dance in between what's available and the stack, right? I mean, if you're in a stack and for some reason the windows aren't here, you've got an issue, right?
Right,
Well, do we have an anticipated window delivery date yet? Do you know?
not yet.
and on the work on Tower 9, you mentioned after the south side of 8 is finished, you would go to the north side of 9.
Yes.
Will you go beach side and then back around?
Yeah, I would
or-
rather wrap it
Okay.
around. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So on Tower 9, north, east, south, and then west.
John, do you expect all of the work to be done on the north side of 8, south side of 9, before the dirt is removed from the grassy flats over here?
No, what we want to do is we want to get all dirt removed right off the bat.
Okay,
He's gonna come in, we're gonna try to get the planter dirt removed as quick as possible, and then he's also gonna work on the grassy knoll, getting that and the landscaping up front.
so the planter dirt in both buildings at the same time, I assume, right?
Well, I think there was a little bit of a discussion on holding off on the Tower 9 due to, water intrusion, maybe. We don't know what's underneath that dirt, so that dirt's acting kind of as a buffer for now. So we'll have to come back and do that. We'll do that at the beginning of Tower 9.
Okay, when you start staging Tower 9.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
On the plan, sir.
Because I mean, if we were to pull it out and you had some issues in your coatings existing right now, we'd have to cover it up with maybe some plywood or something, and you guys don't want to look at that, so.
I guess. And then Brad, are you also removing tile on the walkways also? I guess, do you want to give them, put the spotlight on you now, you want to give them kind of a rundown of what to expect as far as noise in your process? And I guess partly with that would be with Sean and access, when you're working on the walkways, what would be accessible, what wouldn't be, that type of stuff.
It'll be super quiet. There won't be any noise or dust or anything. I mean, basically, we'll go through with jackhammers and maybe, depending on how it is, I have a ride-on scraper. And we'll go through and we'll demolish tile. And CPS is gonna have a low on site. So we'll probably take it in buckets to the edge. We'll have a big box built, the low arm reaching up in the air. And that's how we'll get it down. Won't be going through elevators or anything like that. And then the scraper will take all of the thin set that's remaining on the ground off, so you'll have a smooth surface. And we probably would go, well, I have to give a Sean, but we probably would go through and remove all the tile, working our way down, taking the thin set off, and then we would profile the concrete, starting at the top all the way down.
When the stack is still there.
No,
Yeah, this
floor
is
by
done on the
floor,
walkways.
Floor by floor.
Your west side.
On the west
by
side.
Floor as we go down.
Okay, so that work would then have to be going through the unit, right? To-
No, he's just starting on the walkways. He's not hitting the balconies
Oh, the balconies.
yet.
Oh,
Yeah, so this is
okay.
just on the walkways.
Just walkways,
Yeah,
yeah.
balconies will do the swing, right?
Yeah.
There won't be any.
Yeah,
It
so you're not
won't
gonna
be
need
units at all.
access. The only people needing access to the inside of the units are the people who are gonna have windows or doors replaced.
How long roughly for each floor?
I'd say a week per floor. We'll just say roughly. It really depends on how it comes up. Could be a day, but we'll say a week. And then with the planters and the grassy knoll, I need big back trucks and dump trucks. And right now, they told me last week, wait, after the storm, so I have to check with them and see.
What availability is.
Yeah, so that, I mean, the 17th, they should be.
Letter.
We'll see.
Doris, I know you brought up the palm trees.
Yes, in
Um,
front of the grassy knoll for our folks on the phone and others here.
With the bid, it was just taking a remove and replace with what was there. I don't know if we can save them or not. I mean, we can look for some nurseries that maybe can grab them and plant them temporarily to go that route. I'm unsure with that question.
Okay.
Any other questions on the schedule as of now before we actually see the schedule?
Now, Sean, are we gonna have any kind of actual picture of what's happening? As I'm gonna print out of a.
Yes, I will break out like a Gantt chart type of schedule, and then we'll label out things.
What level of detail will that get, chart be?
Typically for something we publish out, for TJ, and board members, I'll publish out something that's pretty well detailed. And then for publishing for homeowners, it's something that's kind of, maybe floor by floor or something like that.
And how often are you gonna update that?
I like to try to update it weekly.
Okay, great.
There was one question that was sent in because we asked homeowners to send questions so that we could consolidate them, but we only got one, and that could be because of the storm. But person wanted to know the earliest date that they can expect work to be done in Tower 9. Now, I know you've said the whole project is estimated at 16 months.
Mhm.
So about halfway, is that
It's a good guesstimate at
Yeah.
this point. Once I have the schedule out, it'll pinpoint it pretty good.
okay? So that's into 23, definitely. Well into 23.
And then Doug, that once we know the schedule more, we'll be able to coordinate with you guys
Yeah.
in terms of removing storm bars.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, wide swing up with
Yeah,
everybody and man, it's no problem.
Yeah, I think for Doug, the starting point would be if there's anything attached down to the tile right now on the walkways
Mm.
that by probably, I mean, are you planning on starting right on October 17th? Or when is Brett scheduled to start? Do you know?
We're trying to get him in here that week. I guess it's dependent on what his availability for the back trucks, because that was the first thing he was gonna go at, was these planters.
And you could start on a tile if you wanted to go that route, or you want to get your windows done. before you jump on.
No, I mean, we can demo the tile, that's fine. Let me get into that schedule.
I'm just thinking for Doug's standpoint, that way
I don't
he
think we
knows
have
kind of
anything
a
on
date
that.
of when things.
Yeah, I
need
don't
to be
think we have
moved.
anything on the west side of this building with storm bars. I have to go back. The only thing I didn't.
That or
bring
if they're
up
attached,
was
that or if they're attached to the planters. 'cause
Yeah,
the
there
planters
might be
coming out.
one. There
Right.
might be one, but there's one or two, but the one that's attached to a windowsill, there wasn't any sill damage noticed. So it's kind of dependent on you.
Yeah, once, and I'll be here and I'll look and see if we have anything that needs to, but for now, I would start with if anything attaches to the floor or anything attaches to the planters that are gonna be removed. That stuff will have to go. And then
On the west side, right?
just on the west side, and then once we,
There's no, I don't think there's any storm bars into the windowsills where there's damage on this side.
I don't think there was either.
No.
Yeah, because once we get Sean's schedule, Doug will know where, kind of at least a lead time for when balcony work will need to.
There's one or two that's into the floor, and I printed everything else. I didn't print that, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I
I don't need it.
actually will fill him in,
Hmm.
because he'll be one of the first ones that gets up there to get those things down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
And then after that, it's if whether or not you decide a shutter needs to come off because of concrete work.
Yeah, so typically, once they get the tile removed and that's gone, then I'll go up and sound. That way I can sound everything all at once. That way somehow something doesn't get missed.
Yeah.
So typically, once all the tile will get off the walkways, then I'll go up and then I'll start marking all the damage that needs to be repaired. Same with on the
I
balcony.
have it broken down by side of the building and also by stack on this side. So I have all that information.
Awesome,
I
thank you.
just didn't bring it with me.
No
And
worries.
it's way less than we originally thought because quite a few people have replaced their shutters
Mhm.
or are going to replace their shutters.
Okay.
So it's it's a lot less than we originally started with Tower 8.
Okay.
To go back to, I'm sorry, to go back to your question, in regards to the schedule and everything, we can do a Google Maps. We typically do a Google Map shot and we'll label drops. So I'll go all the way around the building and I'll drop 1, drop 2, so on and so forth.
That'd be visual for the owners.
Yeah.
That'd be good. So do you expect to have that maybe done by the next
I'm
week?
gonna shoot for this week, beginning of next week. Yes, sir.
Okay, that'll give us some time to review it and get back.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
Even if I give you, like I was telling Doris, the starting process, so you know where we're gonna be at on the west side and maybe a couple of the other sides, I'll get that out as soon as possible. So
And when you're removing the tile in the walkways, most of us have thresholds under our doors for the tile as well. So that happens when we do that'll come up.
It might, I mean,
Yeah, I think we have to kind of get into it and see
Doors.
how it terminates and
Right.
everything else at that time. So it'll kind of be once we get into it, we'll see how that termination stops right there.
I think you had to count on thresholds in case we did choose some up. So
Yeah.
Yeah, because it goes under, I know it goes under my door.
Me too,
Right.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think most of us, it goes under our doors.
Okay.
And I think, Sean and TJ, you said that one of your very first things when you're mobilizing is to walk the building again and kind of visualize, see what you can see right off and alert us to, if a door has to come out, that kind of
And I
stuff.
think too, we talked about since the lanais have been built out differently by every owner, where you cut the planters when you're removing them is
Right.
gonna be different.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
kind of like
floor
a case by
floor.
case basis.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
go back to the starting things. I think getting us mobilized on the first week, getting everything set in place, taking a look at the buildings. We like to do a pre-inspection of things that we're not touching, just to notify, things like that. So I think that might be in him starting with the planners if possible. Maybe we hold off on the demo until the second week.
Okay.
Just to.
Yeah.
You know,
hopefully the back truck can be here, so.
Yeah.
we won't have an issue.
So when you're jackhammering, I just had all my floors jackhammered, so how do you protect all the glass doors?
We'll have a sheet of plywood that we
Really?
carry
Really?
around and just set it right in front of the door, so if you need to come out, they just whip it out, let you get out, put it right back.
Okay,
And windows the same way, I guess, really, if anything is
Yeah.
flying or popping, the windows are
Yeah.
protected.
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm always available too. If we want to do walkarounds and shutters and anything like that you might have questions for me, I can be here any day of the week at any time,
Okay.
and
appreciate that.
participate in everything.
Good.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
If I may inject something here, this is Steve with Custom Storm Shutters.
Sounds like Mike.
Yeah, I really would like to be in there before everybody else is. If we can identify whatever shutters we can ahead of time, that way we're not stepping over anybody or in anybody's way. That would be the best way to do this. So as soon as we get out of storm season, I'd like to be, at least a stack or 2 or floors ahead of everybody else, minimum.
And I think that we'll be able to do that because they're starting on the west side. So it's gonna be a little while before you're over on the east side where most of the storm bars
Yeah,
are.
that's Steve.
Yeah.
Steve, well, basically, I think we're talking about 6 stages at a time. So yes, you will be the first on those stages. To get the storm shutters, you'll have the first opportunity, but depending on how the flow goes, will be dependent on where you're at as far as stacks.
Okay, well, just we'll work with you. Being it's coming into the off season, storm season, things should get a little easier and less tense as far as making a shutter not workable. So just keep me in the loop, and we'll get guys down here to keep ahead of you guys, so we're not holding anything up.
10-4, sounds good.
And Steve, if you want, and Doug want to come back next week and walk anything, there's one of us here all the time, so.
Okay.
in a room.
Yep,
And I-
we'll do that.
My list of.
Yeah, absolutely.
and
Yeah, I'd like
my
to get my head
staff,
wrapped
my
around
stuff,
it. Yeah, no doubt.
Are there any questions or any comments or anything that we have for Brett? I'm just thinking that to get him out ahead of time instead of having to sit through conversations he doesn't necessarily need to be a part of.
I I don't think so.
When is he gonna start taking out the dirt and the planers so I can let homeowners know?
Probably within that first week. I think as we get closer, we'll verify that. But as long as he's got the vacuum truck available and it's not held up or finishing up the job that he was on, that within that first week, hopefully it will start.
Now,
Well,
PJ,
Did,
I just
did
let
I,
homeowners that week,
That
so
week,
whether
yeah.
he's a few days out, it's still.
And Sean will be in touch with you guys too, as we get started, as we're coming into that starting time, that if things change one way or the other, you guys will be aware of it.
When they take the dirt off this, because sounds like that's gonna happen.
Probably after they finish the
quickly.
walkways.
Any exposure for us in terms of, you know, water, more water coming into our garage or?
No,
Is
shouldn't be
there
any
anything to
more.
worry about there?
No, I mean, that'll give us the ability to at least inspect the drains.
Okay,
That if we need to do something temporarily to retie in, if there's an issue with drains or something like
Okay.
that. No, I wouldn't think
okay,
so.
all right. Just wanted to make sure.
I have one other question on, what's the weight limit on our parking lot for dirt truck coming in and out?
The parking lot's on grade, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should be okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't see any issues with.
No
the
different
weight.
than a garbage corner right there.
No, yeah, cause I mean, just typical, you're looking at like 10-yard trucks or something that are gonna be coming in here and
18-yard dump
getting
trucks.
the big 18s.
Because my plan is to build, once we figure out what we're gonna do with those palms. And then get that bottom area cleaned out, I'm gonna build a ramp. That'll load, I'm having
Yeah.
a crane here to set the skid up. On top of the knoll, and then we'll just keep on pushing with that ramp dirt, so it'll load the big dump trucks.
Okay,
Instead of dropping on the ground and then.
yeah,
picking
less
it up.
times you move it, the quicker it'll get done.
Yeah.
So I guess the only other thing that they'll need to know is when the crane will be here.
Yeah.
Just that way, cause that might affect parking and access into things.
Yeah, then whenever I find out about the back truck and the dump truck availabilities, then I'll find out about the crane availability. And
that's
then
good.
I'll get you guys all that info.
Okay.
And Sean, are we planning on doing the waterproofing of the grassy knoll after we finish Tower 8?
It'll
Because-
be once this wall and that wall, so the north wall of Tower 9, the south wall of Tower 8, when both of those are done, then they'll
Okay.
get in there and do that.
Because then we'll need to coordinate with the artificial turf for them to come in and bring their fill in.
Correct.
And they're talking about putting a concrete border, I guess, around the outer perimeter of it to attach the turf to.
Mhm.
So they'll have to, I guess, you might want to ask some questions of them.
Yeah, I think which we can get to that here shortly, but yeah, if we can get just kind of a detail, because we'll have to figure out, even with waterproofing wise, how are we tying everything together? So we know we can at least stop the leak issues and then how the turf's gonna attach and how big the concrete border is going around that.
We have them on a call, so
Okay, yeah, okay.
we can't talk to them.
Yeah, I think we're probably close to finishing up what's on here.
Okay.
And then, so if we have nothing left for Brett, we can probably let him go. Is there anything else for Doug, shutter coordination wise that we need to discuss as of right now, or Steve?
I don't think so, especially if you want to come back.
Absolutely.
Have-
Oh, yeah. No,
have
definitely be a part.
exact info done. Great,
Okay, well, yeah, we'll let them go.
okay.
That way we're not wasting more of their time.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, guys.
You too.
Thank you. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Nice to
Nice
meet
to
you.
meet you, Sean. Good to see you.
Good luck with the trucks.
Thank you.
Everybody. Thank you. The only other thing that I really had on the agenda was paint, deck coating, color selection. So I don't know, are the buildings walls, are they all staying the same colors, changing colors?
We agreed long ago that we would stay with the Demucci colors that the building has.
Okay,
So I'm sure this beige is faded from the original color, because I think it's been 10+ years since we've been painted, if I remember correctly.
so it's faded.
Yeah,
You said, that was the question I asked, how many years since it's been painted? I was gonna ask one of the other guys too. What would y'all recommend on the light and the purpose of the paint is to keep water out of the building coming to the block?
To some extent, I mean, paint's not a waterproofing by any means, but it does help protect the building. So typically, like the super paint is what was specified for here from Sherwin-Williams. We'll give you a 7-year warranty on it. So around that 7-year lifespan, you're probably looking at wanting to repaint again. Paint tends to lose its thickness the longer it's on a building. It wears. And so you want to be able to maintain that. So probably within another 7 to 10 years, you're going to be ready to paint again.
But now the extending it allows the current coat to break down more. It cuts down on the effectiveness of the new coat. So the more porous the old coat is, the less effective the new coat would be. Does that make sense?
To some extent, and they have primers. For example, they have locks-on conditioner that comes through and preps that coat to bond. So, I mean, this is, typical for all these buildings. They get painted condos every 7 to 10 years. And typically we don't have too many paint issues until the thickness starts building up too thick. And then once it gets too thick, as paint tightens, when it cures, it tightens and has the ability to break free the bond from below it. This is a fairly new building, so there's not a lot of paint that's on it. So I don't think that's necessarily an issue to be worried about yet. But later down the road, that'd be something to be concerned with. So if we're keeping the same color on the paint, we'll just need to get whatever codes those are to Sean, or he can have Sherwin-Williams come out and try to match it as best they
We
can.
have the code for the green. Do we have, I don't think
For
we
the
have,
green, we do for the wall paint, no.
no.
Okay, so we
I
have,
mean, I would
we have the can.
if they
I
came
mean-
out to match it as.
we can have Brian Kelly come out, and CPS will do a mock-up of it. So we can have Brian Kelly with Sherwin-Williams come out, try to match it, and then
Well, we
we'll
have
come
a-
out and do a
We have
mock-up.
a can of the paint.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a can of it, so maybe for that they can.
Okay,
Could have a number on it, right?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes not.
good.
Probably covered with-
Well, and that's minor really at this point. We'll get.
Yeah, I
the
mean,
right paint
we're
colors.
a little ways out before you see paint.
Yeah.
So it's not, we don't need decisions as of or numbers, codes today, but just something just to start thinking about that we need, if we can, whatever paint codes that you do have, or we'll need to get Sherwin-Williams out. They'll then do a mock-up, same with the deck coating. So, I mean, we've got some time before we get to the deck coating. So we just kind of need to know what finished color we're looking at. I know you just brought
Yeah.
over some stuff, so I'll kind of give you the floor.
I can call for a vote on color selection, or we can do that next week.
I was gonna say, you don't necessarily
as
need to
the
do that
board-
today.
Okay,
I
but in the
don't
near.
think Sean needs
near
them,
future.
but yeah, the sooner the better. That way they can start procuring materials. But I mean, I don't think if a week is gonna
Yeah. Well, we
cause
have
any
a
issues.
general board meeting on the 14th, I think, so we'll make that decision. then.
Good with you, Sean? Yep. And then that way, once they mobilize, we can, within that first week or two, start doing some mock-ups and getting colors on just to verify everything and get approval.
Okay, great.
I'm sending a note to Ryan right now to get that process all started.
Ryan Kelly, Sherwin-Williams. Not this Ryan.
Not you, Ryan.
Wait, what?
No.
Dude, I need you to go get the colors now.
Something else for Ryan's to-do list.
Yeah, we're gonna bring the paint chips over for you, and
It's an interesting conversation when him and I meet.
I'm sure. Yeah, everybody starts saying Ryan, everybody turns around. What, if any, do we need to have any further discussion with the coatings? I know Gemstone's on that.
I
Or
don't
if you
think
guys pretty
so.
square, I know you guys have kind of met in the
Yeah.
past, that if you guys are kind of squared away with, we know what's gonna be done, that really it would just be getting a mock-up to make sure that we have approval with the final color and everything else on it.
Yeah,
Okay,
When we met with Gemstone a month or so ago,
Mhm.
it didn't seem like we left something open. Maybe it was just the color. I think we decided on the pattern.
pattern.
Decided on the pattern, you
Yeah.
guys are still looking at the
On the
colors.
colors, okay,
okay.
that was it then.
Jim, do you have any comments or anything?
Yeah, I guess just the color is the only thing we need. And we're gonna use, I believe, the Pecora Fast Cure waterproof, the membrane underneath.
Okay, yeah, just submit all that stuff to CPS when they send over all their submittals, and I'll run through everything. I'm sure
We'll
there's
have
probably
a-
not any issues with
Yeah,
that.
we'll have a decision on the color on the 14th, because that's our next.
Yeah,
Board meeting.
yeah, that should be fine.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
Then the timing, as long as everybody knows the
Oh,
floor
yeah.
closure, we'll give them plenty of notice.
Yeah.
Tony's got his hand up.
Tony Wilson? Tony Wilson?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Could we get some color samples from Sherwin-Williams or whoever we're using for the 14th so we can, or ahead of that, so we can,
For the
The
walls or the floors?
I guess both.
Okay, yeah, it's probably gonna be different, might be different. I'll let Jim talk about who we would like to use for the floors, but yeah, for Sherwin-Williams. Yeah, he's already started the ball with Ryan Kelly, so once he gets something, he can have that color sent over to you.
Yeah, there could be 50 different beiges.
50, probably more than that.
Sean, do you have our fan deck? For the
Yes,
floor?
here, Doris has it in her hand. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Okay, so you've got.
Okay.
for the
So
floor.
that's the colors
Yeah,
yeah.
on the floor.
Okay, good.
for the
Sir.
floors.
And on the floor surface that we're doing in the interior stairwells, it's the back color of these chips. Is that correct? Was it product or completely different product in the stairwells?
Yeah, I don't think I'm doing the stairwells.
I'll have to get you color selection.
Okay.
For that.
All right,
Stairwells were just white.
they're gray and
Oh, they're
the
gray.
floor is gray.
Oh,
And but I think, and maybe this is what I was recalling, we had some discussion with Gemstone about product for in the stairwell. And I guess we moved away from that.
That could be the
And I
top
thought
color,
it was
right?
the same colors,
Top.
just
Probably,
the
yeah.
riser on the stairs was gonna be the back color of the chip.
That's what I seem to recall, but doesn't
Wasn't
sound
there for
like
that conversation.
that decision was finalized or how it was even bid for the stairwells, what product was bid on the stairwells.
We used a grade level type product, so
Okay.
I would just talk with TJ Tough Top. He likes to spec a lot for those type of scenarios,
Okay,
which is a good product. We used it at Landmark. And
Is that
comes up real good.
non-slip?
I'm sorry,
Non-slip.
they have an additive for it, yes.
Okay, great. And are we, while we're on it, are we painting the ribbons in those stairwells?
I don't think so, because I think the Sherwin-Williams guy that came and inspected everything said they were in really good
Yeah, he
shape.
recommended not painting them. He thought even the sheen on them that
It's
was
still-
Yeah, it's
really
not-
good condition.
It's not included here, just the stairwell floor coating, which was the price includes the addition of a non-slip additive.
Okay.
All righty.
Anything else, I guess, before we get into the
Grassy knoll.
grassy knoll,
I don't think so.
Grassy flaps.
whatever you want to call it?
There's no mold out there.
I want to rename it Plaza.
I'll never call it.
Well, I'll kind of give the floor to Samantha that kind of let us run us through at least what your anticipated plan of attack is, and then we can kind of go from there.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Samantha. I'm the Director of Operations for Artificial Turf Factory Outlet. I know you have recently been working with my colleague Simon. He has now relocated to Texas, and I'm now back from maternity leave, so I'll be taking over this project. I did have a question before we kind of just get right into it. Have we determined what the depth would be after the waterproofing barrier is put into the area?
I don't think so. How do you know offhand how deep that soil and everything is now?
I want to say it's about 10 to 12 inches.
So we think the soil is about 10 to 12 inches, and they have a waterproof membrane that's below it that's probably about the same thickness of what's going to be there. I mean, that's going to be very minute difference. So you're probably going to be the only thing that we don't know is exactly how that profiles for drainage. In the bid, we have profiling it. And so once we get it stripped, probably within that first couple of weeks, I would assume we would have a better understanding of what the actual depth is and how much profiling is going to be needed to get that area to drain properly.
I would assume that maybe it's a bad assumption that with the drains that are currently in there, would already be, that concrete would be profiled to those drains.
I would assume, but I mean, even my understanding is on all these DiMucci buildings, even they use the thin set for the tile to profile the walkways and the balconies, that they didn't slope the concrete at all.
It's a thin shell or the concrete.
For the tile to embed the tile into. Yeah, they raise that up higher at the building level and a thinner to try to get some drainage. I don't know, right, I don't know what they did. So it's at least bid, worst case, if we get in and it drains fine, then we already have cost savings right off the bat. So I'm not too sure what to expect when we did that.
In this case, in the big area.
Correct, yes. Yeah, already accounted for.
All right.
So in a indirect way, within probably the first few weeks of the project, we can actually have a definitive answer for you for that as far as thickness and finish elevation.
And that section is going to be really part of the last work on our first tower. So you would not come in and install turf.
I would say you're probably at least 8 to 9 months out, as long as everything goes well. Because even if this building takes 8 months and that one starts, you still have to get that south elevation wall complete before we're down in there. Then they have to still do the waterproofing. So, I mean, you still might be 9 to 10 months out before we're at a point where turf would be able to even go in, or your process would be able to start.
Yeah, we just would like to minimize the amount of time that, even though the current waterproofing isn't perfect, we don't want a period of time where there's no waterproofing over that thing, because the garage comes
Right.
out with 2 or 3 inches of water in it.
Right.
Going to your car.
Nope, I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Okay, so ultimately, depending on what the depth would be, will determine if we will need to pour the 4-inch concrete border, or if we'd be able to utilize polyboard. It just depends what the depth would be for us to determine if we can use the landscaping nails. We definitely do not want to puncture or damage the waterproofing barrier in any way. I know you guys are also wanting to use the 57 stone. So we kind of want to just make sure that we have all of that information before we determine exactly how the installation will take place.
Okay.
I also have my lead installer in the meeting with us. His name is Ray. I'll let him take over a little bit so he can explain to you guys more about the installation options that we have.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Ray. Like she said, I'm the lead installer for Artificial Factory outlet. I did go over with Sam a little bit on just securing the perimeter of the turf. She did let me know that there was talks about doing a concrete footer to glue down the turf. That is a pretty viable option. I had one question about the membrane. Is the membrane just laying down flat on the surface, or is it wrapping up the sides of the wall?
It'll come up the sides to some extent. It's a below grade liquid applied coating. So It's not a sheet membrane or anything. It's a typical below grade hot mopped waterproof coating. Okay.
So if we do decide to go with the poly boards, we would be able to tapcon those in to the perimeter, which if it's not going all the way up, I don't think it's going to affect any waterproofing, which might be a better option than the concrete edging around the perimeter and securing it with adhesive.
Okay. And honestly, I think our probably best bet moving forward is once they get all the dirt out, that maybe we schedule a meeting on site to sit down and try to figure out what our elevations actually are and what would be the best solution for you guys. That way we can sit there, you can bring whatever it is. If we end up using nails or whatever it might be, we can kind of look at it all in person and figure out what's going to be the best. Well, really take your guys' advice for what's going to be the best method to install the turf, but at least be able to look at it and make sure that we don't have any issues that we could run into.
Okay, I agree.
Maybe we table this until the dirt's removed and then schedule a time for you, TJ and Sean and Samantha.
And probably
come
Ray.
And Ray,
Yeah.
to come and agree on materials and everything.
I agree with Nancy. I mean, we have no idea what that's gonna look like.
Yeah.
No, I think so. Just that way from an installation standpoint, I mean, really, it's all speculation at this point. So let's kind of get a more definitive answer when we can. And then that way it'll be planned, ready to go. And then, or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
from.
Are you
timeframe
okay
from
with that, Samantha?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. We are definitely okay with that. You guys have my email. I don't plan on having any more kids, so I won't be leaving for maternity again. So if you have any questions, if you guys need to reach me for any reason, I can also copy Ray in to our email thread as well.
Okay.
But we definitely look forward to starting this project with you all. We're here to answer any questions that you might have.
Cool.
And that meeting, it'd probably be November, December timeframe, early
Okay.
December. If,
That's
Probably.
all right, thank you.
Well, thank you all very much. Thank you for being
Yes,
patient.
Of course, it was a pleasure. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you,
Thanks,
you
Jill.
too.
We didn't talk about which area of the parking lot they're gonna use.
No,
Nope. Thing.
The
yeah.
whole thing.
All
You don't need it, right?
Well, for our insurance to cover what is stored, it has to be within 100 feet of the front door. So that's
Really?
not
That's
the
interesting.
furthest line, that's 122 feet. So it would be, there's that little grass.
Strip between the.
Yeah, so it would be that third row like of
Insurance to
parking.
cover my stuff?
Or the windows
And
and,
windows and whatever.
And the other
Yeah.
materials.
We can park the semi there, but typically we'll push our,
to the furthest,
yeah.
yeah, that you, yeah.
But
So-
any of the materials that you're gonna store have to be within 100 feet. for-
Unless you all are taking complete responsibility if there's theft
Gotcha.
or, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Materials can go in the garage?
To some extent, we
Depends
don't
on
have a
how
lot
much.
of
Right.
extra spots
Okay.
open, but yeah, and that's all something to coordinate when you know, that
Joe's
first
call.
week.
I mean, I can put a fence anywhere and
Okay,
I mean, I don't know how specific that insurance is though, but I mean, the homeowners have paid for those windows already. And so we have to make sure that those windows.
Nothing happens to-
Yeah, typically what they'll do is they'll drop the semi truck.
and leave
We'll sit
the,
there and stay,
trailer.
a Connex or something that, yeah, depending on who's doing it, sometimes the semi truck stays. And they leave the back portion of it set somewhere, truck takes off. Or they'll bring in a Connex type trailer that'll sit in the parking lot, semi backs up, they unload everything, put it inside the Connex, lock it, and then kind of move on.
It just needs to be in that. Not as
Within-
far as you go.
Which is fine. So I mean, I think we have time if we don't have a delivery date yet, that we'll be able to plan that.
Yeah.
Really, how big of the order is being delivered? I don't know if they're doing multiple deliveries or if it's all kind of coming at one. Because, yeah, we might have a spot where I'm assuming they ordered both towers 8 and 9 at the same time, correct? So maybe they can stagger the 9 delivery for hopefully later on, potentially. That it might be worth leaving a trailer over there, just that way they're not getting moved from this spot back to that spot. More times you move them, there's always a chance something could happen to them. So the less you move them, the better off it is. So we'll just need to know how many deliveries there are gonna be and how many trailers. Cause I've had them before where in a day, 3 trailers will show up and somebody's loading them and putting them somewhere. So we just need to know how much storage space we need.
I just out of curiosity, Brian, maybe you know, how many windows were ordered? Do we have a? tally on that?
we had 20 owners participate.
Only 20, I thought there'd be more. than
I have a list.
Yeah, more owners got windows, but 20 ordered through
the process.
Yeah,
Yeah, this will give you kind of an idea.
a couple units are doing everything. Most units are doing sliders.
what's the process for the owners who didn't go through this?
Either they have had their windows replaced right now
Okay.
before you are on site. No one will be doing any windows while you're on site.
Okay, and then afterwards, I guess it'd be a concern too, as far as sealants.
So typically, just for example, sliding glass doors, this new deck coating system is going to turn up. You're going to have, there's a sealant bead below your sliding glass door. This new deck coating system, the coatings all turn up. It might not actually have the texture on there, but the colors will. And so if they come in and rip that door out after the fact, somebody's gonna have to come in along the bottom. Typically, door companies don't paint their sealants. They're not painters. So somebody's gonna have to come back in and touch up the floor coating along that line. And then same with the jams and the headers, both windows and doors. They typically don't paint their sealants. If they're using a urethane, you're gonna want it painted for protection.
I believe also, I mean, we're looking at warranty issues if somebody else does the sealant on that particular window besides us, no?
Potentially, but I think that's easily discernible
Yeah.
because we know what windows you touched, which ones you didn't.
Right.
Then if there ever is an issue that they have a pinhole in their sealant or something and
They
it
call
causes
that
a leak
person.
issue, then yeah. Yeah, I think that's easily justifiable.
So,
I guess the only issue we have then is if during the process, if somebody who hasn't had their windows replaced has to have them ripped out because of the work that needs to be done around them, and obviously they can't replace that window because if it doesn't meet code. So they're gonna have to order it. And potentially, if there's a delay, that's gonna have to be boarded up for a period of time.
Correct.
And then somebody has to come back and install that window and do it correctly.
Correct.
And so we probably need to think about a process for that, because I'm sure it's gonna.
So I hope.
and we do have specifications on window installation.
Correct.
So we will have to add to that, though, this issue with the ceiling and make sure that that's, yeah, covered.
Mhm. Yeah, we can kind of work through that. Hopefully we don't have issues around well, it's been a few years now, it's been probably 4 years plus since we've done our original evaluation. We didn't see any damage around the openings that we thought would be concerning. So as long as anything hasn't really popped up in those 4 years, hopefully it stays like that we're not gonna have to find damage, that doors or windows will have to come out because of it. I think the windows and the sills, I think were the biggest concern. And we'll kind of see how that kind of plays out once we start taking some of those out. If it stops at the window face or if it's falls continuously up underneath it.
And Sean, I know
Yes.
that there's probably at least 4 or 5 owners over in Tower 9 that are planning on getting new sliders and some new walk-with windows. Would you have a problem if they did that while you're working on Tower 8 and it's done ahead of time? And then,
Just as long as they're not hanging out the windows.
no, it's all interior.
Well, we have a job going on here.
No, it's all interior, interior units, so you
No,
wouldn't
and
have any situations like we had over.
No, and I think that if they're here while we're here, I would let me know if they're doing it, because ideally I'd like to at least look at the opening to make sure there's not any concrete damage, or if I'm not able to, have their foreman come and look to make sure there's no damage in the opening.
Okay.
Just to kind of limit any potential issues later down the road. If they have it out and we find damage, then it gives us an idea of what we might be getting into ahead of time, or if there is no damage, great, put it in and we know kind of what to expect.
And there's,
But that way we know that, hey, not that somebody comes and installs it and then we got to pull it out
Right.
2 months later.
Right.
So if we could look at it now, it might give us a good general idea of
and
if
there
we're gonna have
are,
any
there are
damage.
some owners still on the books to get their shutters replaced.
Okay.
There are some, I know that there's at least one more in Tower 8, because theirs were supposed to be done last Wednesday. My next door neighbor, I feel bad for them because they got a lot of water.
Oh, no.
And
Bad
couldn't
timing.
get their- Yeah, bad timing, so, I'll have to go back and look at the list again and see who's still on the list. Most of the ones that contracted with Steve in Tower 8 have been done, but I think there's still a couple that aren't done, but there are some in Tower 9 that are still contracted to get theirs done.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I felt bad for mine.
Yeah, it's terrible. All I needed was a couple days.
Yeah, they had baseboards pulled out already and everything. Yeah, they got a lot.
What other topics do you guys have? Questions, comments, concerns?
That's been a good meeting, TJ.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well,
Just, we'll know a lot more than when we get the schedule.
Yep.
And so how they want to post it.
What is the material that you're putting down on this? You said it's a hot mop. What is it?
the modified, it's asphalt based. It's an asphalt based tar.
So it's like a typical hot roof type application that's been around forever or
Similar. No, it's very similar to that.
durability?
20-year warranty. Correct.
Yes, and we use a product called Henry. We like to use a Henry's hot applied, which is one of the top brands. We have the best luck with that.
And I guess if I understood correctly, is the turf going to be down while there's
The turf will be completed, and then there will still be ongoing construction in 9, is that true?
Correct, but they're gonna be off the wall that is adjacent, butts up to the grassy knoll, so they should be moving away from it, that it shouldn't affect that area. at all.
Once we finish that wall right there and we turn everything around the corner, then we'll start, he'll have to come in and take the waterproofing off, the existing waterproofing, then we have to do anything we need to do, profiling, construction wise. So we could be pushed down a couple stacks by the time the grass comes in.
But is there concern with removing the tile and the jackhammering and the scraping going on, that you've got debris and whatever else blowing around ending up in this nice new turf?
I don't think so. I think like Sean just said, I think they're still gonna be pushing away, moving away from it. That it'd be far enough away by the time the actual turf gets installed that it shouldn't affect it. And I mean, and we'll look at that scheduling wise and how it works out, 'cause I mean, that is a concern. So we'll have to look and see how that schedule plays out to make sure they are far enough away from it before.
Then there's also the availability just to leave, we can protect the new waterproofing and wait for the grass. If we feel like it's too close, we can schedule them in at any time.
And the painting too, right?
Yeah, we wanna make
Everything
sure
should
the paint's
move.
far
I mean,
enough
once
away.
we start this, we'll be on this first couple of drops here. So your demo is gonna happen in the first week on those drops for the most part. And then from there, it's basically concrete and coatings from there. So you might be 6 to 8 drops down the building before we even get ready to do anything as far as grass out here. But we'll keep an eye out, like TJ said, we won't damage it.
No, they're usually pretty good with protecting what needs to be protected and keeping things scheduled so that it doesn't become an issue. like that.
Usually, always.
And there's always a mistake happen. Something always happens, but
Does this need to be signed before you could order them? The change order? the
I
windows?
got those back from you, didn't I?
This afternoon or after.
I think so.
we're off.
I think I already got them back. Signed.
I don't know who signed them. So we'll
Not by us.
discuss in a minute. There's a hand raised.
Mr. El Tomi, 8101.
I signed it, maybe they haven't yet.
Okay,
We have-
so you.
Go ahead. Mr. Alcalde.
Thank you. Quick question. Is there an expected change of elevation from the current grass in that center area to the turf? Or is it gonna go higher or lower? Probably lower, maybe?
I would assume probably lower, but I think we're gonna need to have that conversation with the turf company once all the dirt's removed. Because I know there's been talk that they're bringing gravel in and stuff like that, adding potentially a 4-inch curb on top of it. So I'd have to see how much gravel and everything else that they're bringing in to know what that finished elevation would be. I would assume that it probably would be, it needs to be lower or same elevation of what we have. We don't necessarily want it to go higher to affect any joints or anything like that. But I would assume it might be a little bit lower.
And
Do you know the total depth right now in place?
I believe it's about 10 to 12 inches of soil that's there.
if
So
you're,
it can-
go ahead.
I was gonna say, so it can drop 12, I mean, full 12 inches then from where it is.
But if your concern is anyone stepping over that little stucco ledge
Sure.
onto the grassy knoll, that's no longer going to happen. There is going to be a new railing where it's open right now on both sides. So from your unit, it's going to be railed off to the grassy knoll, and there won't be access to the grassy knoll.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Thank you. I was just more the aesthetic part of it. Is it gonna look like natural? Or is it gonna look like just a big hole with the green in the bottom of it? So it makes
No,
a
I think
big
it would look
difference on the depth, you know?
I mean,
And we'll call it
I know they talked
green
about
hole.
what I thought was maybe 3 to 4 inches of stone. Was that what I recall?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have our waterproofing, 3 to 4 inches of stone, plus the thickness of the AstroTurf. So it's not gonna be down at the bottom. It'll be elevated to some extent. I just don't know what that extent is.
Depends on how it's profiled.
Okay, thank you.
Correct. Yeah.
we
If we
still
need
we have to make sure
profiling.
the drains are still gonna work,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think we had an average thickness of potentially, I think 1 inch, I think was what we had in the bid. So, I mean, it might be up 2 inches at some spot, 1 at another. And that's why they'll bring the stone is keep the AstroTurf level. So, yeah, it's going to be up. We just don't know to what extent yet.
Any other hands raised, Ryan, on the restoration issue? No, okay. Anybody just on the phone? Tony Wilson, anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jim Skirka, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning. I was glad to hear that I didn't, no delays as a result of the hurricane. But one question, is there any impact of the seawall, the integrity of the seawall on anything going on as far as the restoration project? Is the seawall intact? Are we good? And would that impact the restoration project whatsoever?
I don't think it would impact the restoration project. I've not inspected the seawall since the storm. I'm not too sure. All I'm aware of is the beach access stairs have washed away. But I'm not aware of any issues. I've not inspected it. But the seawall would be completely independent of the building itself. I believe the building sits on piles. So that would be completely independent of the building restoration itself.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Okay, so that concludes our old business on the restoration project. We have no new business on the agenda. Is there any owners that wanted to bring up any other issue
That for you.
Yeah, I didn't mean to make you mad.
in the open forum?
You want this related to the project, right? Anything
We
else?
would prefer it because we are going to have another meeting this Saturday and then next Friday, that if there's other issues. Okay. Hearing none. Motion to,
Doris,
what? Go ahead.
Doris, good morning. It's John Murray, Unit 7404. So we have opted to work with a different window subcontractor. And am I hearing you right then that subcontractor should be notified that they won't be allowed on the property as far as Tower 8 to do any work until the whole reconstruction project is done?
Until CPS has moved off of Tower 8 completely. Although
Okay.
we can talk about it, John, because I think Sean said windows could be done as long as people are not hanging out the side of the building like happened a few months ago. You're an internal unit, so John would be having west and east side windows replaced
Don't think that's a problem as long as we're
off that floor.
off that
So
floor.
yeah, John, I would say that they probably need to be off your floor, definitely. And it'd probably be better if you could schedule it once they're really off the whole east and west
Building.
sides.
Yeah, I'd say if they're not staged on your balcony stack or on your stack on the east, then we just don't want them working over top of CPS's guys.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
If
right.
CPS's guys aren't there yet or are out of the way, then I don't think that would necessarily be an issue.
It's more of a
Okay,
safety.
so we should just,
John.
Yep.
Anything?
yep, we should just, as time arrives or gets to the thing, we would just sort of work in coordination, and if possible, without being disruptive to the general contractor, they could work on replacing, we have windows in the front and sliders on both of the master and the living room on the east side.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well,
Okay.
that will need to be coordinated, but definitely your guys can't be here when Sean's guys are on your floor. Or your
Gotcha. And then
staff.
the other thing they mentioned with the coatings and the floorings, so that these are done, could it be done in advance of that, or do you just wait and tell them to deal with it afterwards and then come back with the contractor who specializes in that and have that touch-up work done if necessary?
Do you have a delivery date yet for when your windows and doors are supposed to be delivered?
Yeah, I want to say it was like April or something coming. And if the project runs 6 months, we'd be into June.
Yeah, I think we'd kind of have to just coordinate that and look at it as we get closer to see where they are with the schedule. Because I mean, they
Okay.
might be ahead of schedule, they might be behind schedule. I mean, there's a lot of factors that can play into that. So I think we just kind of need to
Okay, perfect.
coordinate that as we get
I
closer.
just wanted to, yeah, I wanted to sort of give them the heads up if it was gonna be something where they weren't allowed on property, period. And I'd already told them that the general contractor has the, priority access to the whole building. So worst case is they would come in afterwards. But maybe there will be something we could coordinate, but that was it. Thank you.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid saying absolutely no work, but it's case by case
Gotcha.
basis. I mean, that's all we can do is
Gotcha.
make a decision.
Yep.
To go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
We had a large amount of water intruding during the hurricane under the doors. Stairwell doors and all the exterior doors, and we got anywhere from a quarter to half an inch opening. There's no thresholds there. Are we including thresholds in here, or should we include thresholds?
Originally, we had not, because the stairwell doors were taken out of our scope and addressed by the association prior, just because they were under the gun from the city. So those doors have not been a part of our scope.
But there will be thresholds put on those doors once the new floor coating goes down.
Yeah, that was the question. Should we go
Well-
before or after the new code?
I'd go after.
We have to do it after because we don't know what that profile is actually gonna look like yet.
That'll go all the way into the dumpster territory too. On each floor where the trash. drops
Yes, the new floor
off.
coatings.
Think it is.
Yeah,
Wherever there's tile now, there will be a new coating.
right.
Correct.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
May.
I second.
Adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks, subject. So you do need to sign
Yeah.
this and order the.
Yeah.
windows.
Stop recording. My, Ryan.